Hi folks. So today I saw a question from someone on the forum on Facebook actually about moving the time, your event in time, i.e. a millisecond or a second or whatever they wanted to do, as opposed to bars. Now, to do that, we have to do a few things. Old Johnny Gibe has done a good video about nudging events and also slip editing within the event, which is very cool. Look him up if you want to see that. This is particularly relating to time-based movement. So, as it stands at the moment, we're on bars. Our timeline at the top here is showing bars. If we want to move this around, if the toggle snap is on, we can just pull this around and it'll toggle snap to the various points across the timeline. We don't want to do that. To get into time seconds, we need to do it a different way. And so what we do is we go on the timeline at the top and right click, and we set the time base here to seconds. Now things have changed here now. Instead of being on bar 2 where we're now in the particular time frame wherever bar 2 would be at 140 BPM. So to make this easier, I'm just going to move this along to 2 seconds, which is there. So just to play this is just a sample keyboard I've used on a recent video. Okay, so it starts at 2 seconds. So we can move this around in a couple of ways and it produces two different results. To do either of them, I'm going to go into the inspector here, and we've got an option at the top up here which is delay, just there. Okay, and at the bottom we've got start and end down here of the event. Now you can see it starts at 2 seconds there. Now with the top one here, whatever we do with this number, it affects when this audio plays in your song, and it will be either before this 2 seconds or it'll come in after the 2 seconds. The difference being that when you alter this, which I'll show you in a second, pardon the pun, the event doesn't actually move in the timeline. It will stay exactly where it is visibly, whether it's bars or time, but the audio playing will change. So let's, for instance, this is 1 second here, 1 to 2 as 1,000 milliseconds. So if I go into this, it says delay, but in actual fact it's a delay or advance, depending on whether you put minus or just a number in here. So if I press, if I change this to 1,000 a second, this should play. Let's just see. There you go. So it says delay, but it's actually, it has delayed. It is a delay. It's delayed the start of the audio at 3 seconds now. It's by 1 second. So from, instead of starting at 2, it starts at 3. So let's just try that again. Okay, so now obviously whatever number I put in there determines exactly where the audio starts. So it's an odd, there must be more uses for it than I use it for. I will show you what I use this for shortly in a different sort of way. But it's a way of moving the audio around, and it's obviously quite accurate with it to a millisecond. So if I change this to minus 1,000 and now play it, it should start at 1 instead of 2. So there you go. So now whenever I move this audio to on the timeline, it will start 1 second before. So if I pull this back to 1, it'll start immediately at the start of the bar. So that's one way of altering the time, but it doesn't alter the position of the bar. So let's put this back to 0, like that. And let's look at this one down here. Now, this one here is in hours, minutes, seconds, milliseconds. So if we move this 2 seconds here, now I can move this by typing in, clicking on it and typing in, or I can scroll my mouse wheel over it, which is what I'm going to do, and this will move as my mouse wheel is actually notched to. It'll move in 1 second at a time, I think. So there you go. So I've moved the mouse wheel and it's gone. It's moved 1 second. If I move it again, to come forward 2 seconds. I can go back second at a time. Now, if I go over to the milliseconds, it starts to move very, very, very slowly. This is moving incredibly slowly now. But the accuracy, and even if I take off the toggle snap, start to move it. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. So we can see now, if I just toggle over there again, this is moving quite fine now. So you can set the beginning, and so you can see the event is actually moving within the timeline. You can set something, you know, quite accurately like this. So that's the difference. If I go back onto seconds and I move it, it's going to move. Let's just pull this down again. It's going to move. I'm on 0. It's going to move a second at a time, like that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there you go. That's the 2 different ways of moving the time around, the event around by time. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show you what I would typically use, not this bottom one for, but the top section up here, delay and advance. So I'm going to forget that keyboard part for a moment, mute that, and I'm going to bring in a guitar loop. That I'm also going to just change this now to, because this event doesn't move when you do this, I'm going to change this back to bars. So let me just move that. Put my toggle snap back on because I like it snapping. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sort of a wider sound with the guitar that's here, this sample, by using this delay and advance setting. So let's just play the guitar 1 second. Okay, so it's straight down the middle, stereo wave file straight down the middle. You can, mono wave files possibly be better when you start panning them, but whichever, this is just to demonstrate the effect. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this track. I want this guitar to be a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, fill the space a bit more. So I'm going to duplicate the track complete. So I've now got, let's come out rather large. I've now got 2 tracks of exactly the same thing. Okay, so with this track at the top, the first one, what I'm going to do, to exaggerate the effect, I'm going to delay this by minus 30, let's go 40 milliseconds. Okay, and the one here, I'm going to advance it by 40 milliseconds. I'm just going to put 40 in there. And I'm going to go to the 2 tracks. And the first one that I delayed, I'm going to pan left. And the other one, I'm going to pan right. So let's listen to what's happened to these. So it sounds quite drastic at that point. When you've got this in the context of a track, it can lose some of that sort of severity and be quite a good effect. If I change it to something like 15 milliseconds, change this one to minus 15, play that. So, you know, it starts to sound quite cool now. We've got a slightly bigger sound. We can do this with all sorts. A nice little trick is to maybe add a reverb onto one side. So you can hear that reverb there when it stops playing. So just gives us hear the reverb tail off there. Again, you can use all sorts of extra. You can put a little delay on one side. You could put all sorts. You can EQ one side differently to the other. This is, you know, quite good if you want to fill a song out. If you've had a song that's been sent to you and it's pretty basic, but you want to build it up pretty quickly, you can use this just as an ideas thing to get wider vocals, bigger backing vocals. You can double these as many times as you like and change these times. So you could go at 10 seconds, 20 milliseconds, all milliseconds rather. I think Warren Hewitt at Produce Like a Pro did a pretty good video on this, on creating wider vocals using this kind of time delay setting. He did a lot of tracks. He did about 10 tracks to build it up. So that's what I use that for, and I think it's a reasonably good idea. So there you go. That's moving events by time rather than bars, and also just a little add-on to use that effect, this delay effect, to create a little bit of width in your sound. Okay guys, anything you need to know, let us know. Cheers, bye.